What up, Dokkaners? When is part 2 going to start on global? What's going to be in part 2? And how are we going to get through all of this nothingness? I know, folks, this happens every single year at the same time. We are officially in no man's land on Dokkan, both global and JP, actually. So this is just how it's going to be for the next week or two. But to answer that question right away, when is part 2 going to begin? Probably next week. And by probably, I mean that in the sense, like, I don't know exactly what date it could be, but there are some ideas. So let's go over what that could mean. Just to start off, to put things into perspective, Yamcha released on April 2nd, PDT, effectively April 3rd, while JP's Kere released on April 1st. So about a 1 to 2 day difference between JP and Global. Now that's important because with Golden Week coming up, that is the big convergence point that we're approaching. This means that both Global and JP have to ultimately converge on that same celebration. With JP being 1.5 to 2 days ahead of Global, does that mean that they're going to reach Golden Week before us? No, we're both going to reach it at the same time. But it does mean that there's going to be a little bit of some weird shenanigans happening with the dates, which we've already noticed. You guys might have noticed over the last few Dokkan Festival celebrations, the part 1 banners just don't seem to work out the way that we would expect. It's normally like a 2-week interval for part 1, 2 week for part 2, sort of like that, with maybe like a mild overlap in the middle. But it's just seemed a little bit weird on the global side. Now, this could be because they're trying to do some clever maneuvering, restructuring to sort of accommodate for either superhero banners that we've had in the past, like this major dual Dokkan festival that happened during the new year, or perhaps they're sort of compensating for what is to come that could potentially throw things out of whack again. So for those of you who are of the notion that we could be receiving some sort of like superhero celebration in Golden Week, or perhaps later than that, maybe they're trying to compensate for that. Maybe they're trying to sprinkle in some extra days on these other celebrations so that we can allow ourselves to have part 1 dual Dokkan festival later on down the road with no need for a part 2, perhaps. It's sort of like, think of the analogy like you are working, you leave an hour early from work one day. Are you going to make up for that 1 hour by sprinkling in 2 minutes across your next 30 shifts? Or perhaps is it going to be 1 minute across your next 60 shifts? However it is, you have to make up for that time that you took for yourself. So maybe they're doing something similar on these different celebrations. But I say this because if we look back at the Bardock one, this was not a 2-week one. This is a little bit more than that. February 28th is the end of the month. Plus the 18th, that's about 17 days. That's 2 weeks plus change. The Kid Goku, this was about 15 to 16 days, so a little bit over 2 weeks. For the Saiyan Day, started on the 18th, went to April 2nd. That's pretty much on the dot 2 weeks. That's about a 2-week window. But then for Yamcha, April 2nd to the 19th, that's 17 days. Why is it 17 days? Could it be because there's not going to be much happening in part 2? Most likely. Some of you guys are sort of holding out hope that we're going to be getting a global first on global for part 2. I would hope that we do not, because this would make it very difficult for global players to then summon for the global first, which could be a legendary summon, and then summon for Golden Week right afterwards, because I know that about 80% of us will want to throw in some summons for Golden Week whenever we learn whatever they are going to be. If it's Tournament of Power, I'm in deep doo-doo because I want to summon for Tournament of Power. I love Migote no Gokui. So, if they announce something like that, it's going to be bedlam on global. So I would really hope that this ends up being a nothing burger, because that just means, yeah, while it may be boring and while it means less content for me, which does hurt my channel, it does mean more opportunities for us to save because there would be nothing for us to summon on. Now, the banner dates, April 2nd to the 19th, are Yamcha's celebration. But for part 2, looking at last year's celebration, it started on the 16th and it went on until the 27th. Now, I have the 30th here because of what I'm about to tell you. It just seems like a very unusual window. Either they're going to be pushing back the release date of the part 2 banner on global a little bit more so that it lines up with part 1, or we just keep it at the same date so that there's a couple of days overlap with part 1, and then part 2's end date just sort of gets pushed back a little bit more. So I feel like Golden Week is not actually going to be starting on the 27th of April like it did last year. It will probably be closer to the 30th, but I like to keep the dates the same with how they were last year, just sort of as a placeholder. And then when they get updated, I will update these dates over here. So that being said, if we were to leave this as the original end date for the part 2 banner, that's 11 days. Now, since this is a filler banner, I don't think that's that big of a deal, but it is going to be a little bit unusual, and it's probably going to ultimately depend on how JP plays their schedule. Speaking of JP, with Kere having released on the 1st of April for them, that means 2 weeks after that, that would be the 15th or 16th, when we can expect part 2 for them if they were to follow the same usual convention for dates. Speaking of, our very boy Minato, our local translator, he sort of has a similar sentiment. Now, one thing you guys should remember, whenever it comes to unit details, there's always a 3-day cycle. Day 1, Twitter info, Twitter animations reveal. Day 2, data download. Day 3, it actually shows up in game. So for JP players, for part 2, the time frame may look like this. The 16th, Twitter info. 17th, data download. 18th, drop in game. It just so happens that during this time, they're also going to be in the middle of their world tournament, which actually kind of fits perfectly because at the end of world tournaments, sometimes both Global and JP will get unit reveals for various things coming up. So it does line up. Part 2 on the 17th. They often follow up world tournament with a new banner. For example, LR Golden Frieza was announced 5 hours before the 44th world tournament ended. So that being said, this adds a little bit more, I guess, credibility to the theory that it should be dropping around the 16th, 17th, 18th, which should be the same thing for Global. Only difference is that Global won't get anything substantial, like an actual banner or like an animation or anything like that. They're just going to say, you know, get hyped for the top legendary ship coming to Global. Nobody cares, right? But it should be that. Now, what else could be dropping during part 2? Because now that we've established the dates, now that we've established why we're thinking these dates, what on earth can we expect for part 2? Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the JP celebration for part 2 that they had back in December for Yamcha. So Yamcha's part 2 celebration, there's already some overlap here. So what's going to happen here is we're going to have logins and missions, of course. Then we're going to have a Super Strike event renewal, which I believe is going to be Gotenks ×2. Now, if you guys may recall, there was a little bit of a controversy on the global side of the game when it comes to these units because JP got these guys during Sand Day. Global did not. And if you may also recall, there was a big thing on the official Dragon Ball website where those bozos advertised that Global would be getting these events during Sand Day, but we didn't. Our very own Proton contacted them and asked them about it, and they very nonchalantly said, yeah, we goofed. So yeah, this is not a Dokkan problem. This was a Dragon Ball website problem, which is why you're not seeing any sort of announcement or compensation because the false advertising happened on the actual official website. So the global intern said some wrong information to the Dragon Ball website intern, and then that intern did something stupid. I don't know. So we should be getting this during part 2. That would probably make the most sense. I think that is the only Super Strike event that Global doesn't have yet. I don't know how to check this actually. Strike events, does it show the difference? I mean, okay. I mean, based on all these, Global has all of these. So I think it is only the Gotenks one. So yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and assume it's gonna be that. I don't think there's anything else there. So that's gonna give us about like 30 stones. They actually give you more here. So if we look at the events, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 14. Okay, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 22, 25, 28. Okay, 28 Dragonstone, something like that. I don't know. It's gonna be a little bit more than the usual 20. That's all that matters. Quest already taken care of. This is gonna be happening in part 1. In fact, this is gonna be happening tomorrow. So I will make another video rambling about this nonsense. And then we got burst mode. That's already been taken care of. We already did the Bojack burst mode. The EZAs with these units have already been resolved. We've already done the Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku, the free-to-play one. That has nothing to do with this one, but since it's Super Saiyan 3, I'm just telling you. The Super Saiyan 2 sub EZA that drops from this event has already been taken care of as well. So nothing from here should matter on the part 2. Maybe they just still bring it back for whatever reason. All these Dokkan events. These are here because at the time of this unit's release, this is the Hachiyak LR Goku's release. So all of these banners or Dokkan events had to be here. So we've already done this because we got this at the end of the Kid Goku celebration. So that doesn't matter for us. All of these are returning events. They might give this to us, maybe not. The only thing that could happen that's new is Chain Battle. Now, some of you guys have asked, is Hachiyak going to be dropping on Global for Chain Battle? We already did this. Global already did the Hachiyak Chain Battle back when we had the LR Hachiyak Goku. So yeah, it's a little confusing, but look at the dates right here. We got this at the end of February going into March, which means we're not getting that. The only chain battle that Global has yet to receive is going to be Vegeta and Nappa. So this makes sense because under the advantageous characters, you can see Yamcha and you can see the Bean Daddy, right? So this is what we're going to be getting for part 2, presumably. After that, I don't remember the last time Global and JP were at the same timeline for chain battle. Okay, you know, actually, let me just scroll through and see. I don't know if there's anything else because I think we've all caught up. So that means that when we go into Golden Week, Global and JP will be at the same schedule for chain battles, which would make sense for the sake of Golden Week's chain battles. We'll probably get 1 or maybe even 2 chain battles. But then after that, are we going to have to stall 1 or 2 celebrations without a chain battle so that we can get whatever hand-me-down JP gives us? I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. The chain battle timeline meta is sort of a new thing, so I can't quite say that I'm familiar with it yet. But yeah, this is what we're going to be getting, which would be another 20 Dragon Stones. This gives you like 28, so about 50. And that's it. I mean, I don't know what else they could possibly throw at us. They could potentially give us maybe like one of the EZAs that should be dropping on Global during the 8-year anniversary. This is me throwing on my conspiracy theory hat, because back last year during Saiyan Day, during the 7-year anniversary, we did end up getting the free-to-play Descendant EZA way earlier than expected. You guys remember that? The Saiyan Day celebration for Global was a little bit different because we got the LR Goku Jr. Vegeta Jr. This is actually the part 3 celebration for the 7-year anniversary, but Global got it way sooner. Maybe they do something similar this year and they give us some of the celebration EZAs that JP got for 8-year early on, and it happens during this. We didn't get anything during the Saiyan Day celebration this year. God Goku was very much its own thing. Maybe they do some of this like 8-year anniversary preview stuff on Global during Yamcha's part 2. Who knows? That's about all I can tell you. I got no other ideas. I can't possibly think of what else is going to be coming up. So the moral of the story is, brace yourselves. It's going to be Dokkan hibernation on Global for a little while. Keep yourselves occupied with link leveling, challenge runs with different teams, other wacky, weird ways to keep yourselves engaged in Dokkan. I will do some videos in the future on how you can guys kind of like keep yourselves occupied, but it should be pretty obvious. So, you know, save your stones and just brace yourselves. Things are going to get hype, but it's not like Dokkan can be hype all year round, because if so, that would only make things more difficult for those of you who play on a budget. So think of this as a boon. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like down below. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on the remainder of the Yamcha Part 1. What can we expect for Yamcha Part 2? Oh yeah, I have a new little graphic there. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the Yamcha Part 1. What could be coming up in Yamcha Part 2? Let me know what you thought about that little graphic right there. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Are you guys excited for Part 2's filler banner? Do you still really think it is going to be a global first coming up next? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Also, be sure to subscribe for more Dokkan content in the future and click the notification bell so that you let you know I want to see more of my stuff. Do it. Thanks again. Stay tuned. I was to Dokkan responsibly. I want to see that again. Give me that one more time.